What's up, ambitious immigrants? Today I'd like to talk to you about the 3 levels of performance, a way for you to maximize your potential so you can win with less effort. My name is Mutabs, and on this channel I cover many topics, some having to do with personal development and others having to do with personal finance. Please make sure to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss out on anything. I'm going to start this video by telling you a little story. There was this guy who was a historian, a very prominent historian. He passed away and went to heaven, and in heaven he was walking, and then he saw St. Peter. He asked St. Peter, who do you think is the greatest general of all time? Do you think he was Alexander the Great, Frederick the Great? Who was the greatest ever? St. Peter looked at the historian and said, the greatest general of all time is that guy over there. The historian looked at that guy and said, that guy was just a farmer. And St. Peter replied, yeah, he was just a farmer. But if he joined the army, he was going to be one of the greatest military leaders of all time. My hope with this video is to help you become great. To achieve that goal, I'd like to talk to you about the 3 levels of performance. The first level of performance is talent. Talent is a God-given gift. It's something you're born with. It's an innate gift, something where you didn't even do anything to earn it. It comes from your parents. The best way to understand talent is, let's say there is an activity where you get very good at it very quickly with no practice or very little practice compared to your friends. A good example of that is, there was this friend of mine who used to play basketball together, and then we went to play volleyball. He was already good at basketball, and all of a sudden he was playing volleyball very well. So he had a natural talent for sports, even though he didn't learn volleyball, practice volleyball. He was just able to play well at school. So, and when you played soccer with him, he was also good at playing soccer. For myself, one of the talents that I've had since I was a child was fitness. In many ways, when I go to the gym, in 3 to 4 days, I get the results that some people can get in 3 months of hard work. There are people who are just born able to dance well, right? So you don't try hard, you have a very high potential to dance well. And there are also people who are good at math, public speaking, English. And when we were young, we were seeing people just doing well in different areas without, even trying, and even yourself. And I'm sure whether it's cooking, whether it's speaking in public, whether it's sports, basketball, the main way to define talent is something you get very good at, an activity you get very good at with very little effort, right? And also without practice or minimal practice. The second level of performance is skill. Skill is your ability to do well in a given activity through practice. So this requires hard work, taking lessons, building muscle memory. So it makes it easy for you to repeat something because you've tried it so many times. Whether, when you see people on TV, most of them, they've practiced so hard for years to get good at that. So they started with a given talent, and then they started practicing hours and hours and hours, right, to maximize that talent. So with talent alone, you can have a potential, but you're here. It takes skill for you to go from here to to world-class level. A good example of that was when I came to the US, there was this 7th degree black belt. He was almost like a grandmaster. And I was like, man, this guy is talented. He was so good. And I wanted him to train me. And so we trained for almost a few months. And one thing is, he wanted me to keep punching a tree 5,000 times every time I went to train with him. So he said, you know what? Look at this tree, punch it like this. Keep punching it 5,000 times, then we're going to start training. So I went and did that a few times, and I said, you know what? I'm done with coming here. I'm paying him money, and look at what I'm doing. I'm going to punch a tree for 5,000 times. I'm done with this. So skill requires hard work. It requires repeating a lot. Anything, whether it's public speaking, you need to stand up in front of people, speak a lot. For people who do well preaching, a pastor who's been doing that so many times that now he doesn't even think, it's automatic. He doesn't need notes. Everything is in their brain. They just know what to talk about. And when there is a circumstance happening in the crowd, they know how to handle it because they've seen that so many times. If you're a basketball player, same thing. it becomes as if nothing is really new to you because you've done that over and over again, and your brain has so many mental models, concepts, and has built muscle memory. So the main thing here, now you start having reflexes. It becomes almost like unconscious. So you start with a conscious effort to try something, and then over time it becomes unconscious. Unconscious in a sense, you don't even try. It's almost like when you're driving, it's a skill you've developed. You drive without even thinking about it. You can do other things while driving. So you've developed the skill to become a great driver. So the difference between skill and talent is where people confuse a lot, make a lot of mistakes, but you have a talent that you're born with, and then there is a skill that you develop. The third level of performance is momentum. Momentum is, so the best way to understand this is when you're pushing your car, and then after a while it becomes so much easier to push because you already put so much effort. The momentum is what keeps the car moving. So it's the force of inertia in physics. And it also works for us when it comes to talent. So there's a lot of things at play here. When you're using a skill a lot, it becomes automatic. And when you stop using it, you lose your momentum. So it becomes harder, right? So momentum is the key thing that it took me a while to understand. It took me almost 3 decades to understand how powerful it is. To me, if, an example of that is making these videos, if I take a break, it's going to be harder for me to even record and, because I'll forget a lot of those things that I practiced. And I've made this, the mistake of losing my momentum so many times in my life because I've tried things, started, do well, and then I take a break. Even though I had the talent and the skill, but because I didn't keep the momentum, it became harder to go back. And as a result, I never got better. Last night before falling asleep, I had this inspiration, and when I was thinking about what video I will make today, this idea came to me, and an idea that, I've known, but I never really knew how to put it into words. So the formula is talent times skill times momentum equals performance.
All right, now we're going to cover the performance formula, a way for you to predict your performance in advance so you can stand out. So we're going to put everything we just learned together. The formula is talent times skill times momentum equals performance. So when it comes to talent that we just talked about, you have 5 options: very low potential to very high potential or average potential here. So very high potential is an area where you've been able to do something naturally. Out of 5 people, you tend to be the one doing it best without even trying. It's just your talent. You're good at dancing, you're good at math, you're good at languages, French, English. You just find that easy for you. You'd never struggle. You're good at history. It could be fitness. You're good at fitness. It could be basketball. It could be many areas, or it could be engineering. It could be programming. It could be public speaking. But other people have struggled to get good at it. But for you, it's just like it was very natural. So you had very high potential. Now the skill is the part where you take the talent that you have and then you practice, challenging practice. If you haven't practiced, well, you're still using your talent here as a beginner. But then as you practice, you become intermediate and then proficient. So my advice would be to spend at least 100 hours practicing on something where you have very high potential. So you're good at cooking, you're good at dancing. Now you practice, you take trainings. If you're good at computer science, it's nursing. You take hours of training, taking courses online, going to college, whatever talent that is, the thing that it's easy for you, that you don't struggle doing. You use that and you train for at least 100 hours until you're proficient. Now, if you want to get even good, right, you can keep going until you become an expert. But the proficiency itself is good in the sense that you can become somebody who knows enough to, have an impact. When we see people like Jay-Z's, Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson, Barack Obama, The Rock, all the celebrities that we know of, right? Brad Pitt, the celebrities that you see on TV, George Clooney, these are guys who have spent at least 10,000 hours practicing. Those are world-class actors or world-class performers. And even grandmasters like 12th degree black belt, 10th degree black belt, they spend years and years, more than a decade, learning and pushing themselves to their limit. So those people become very skilled. But this is very hard to do, and most people don't have the tenacity to get to this level. But if you can put in 100 hours taking courses online, Udemy, and having a coach, a mentor helping you, you're already doing great. So my advice would be find an area of talent and then become proficient at it. Stay away from anything where you have very low potential. Very early you were struggling. The thing is, you're never gonna be able to be like very amazing or world class in that area, because we'll do the math of how this formula works. So it will be, let's say, 5 times 3. Right now we're at 15. So now let's add the third part, the momentum. The momentum is the multiplier. It's the magnifier. So if you've been, let's say, practicing for 0 days, it's like walking. You're easy to stop. If you've been doing this thing, let's say for 3 days, you've been going to the gym for 3 days, it's like a bicycle. It's a little harder to stop, but it can be stopped. So the habit is not settled in quite yet. The skills is not quite fresh, right? The skills are not quite fresh. And then when you have been doing that for 3 weeks, it's like a car. A car is harder to stop, right? So you have the momentum with you. It's even a little harder for you to stop going to the gym than it is to keep going. And then after 9 weeks, it's like almost automatic. You know, it's hard to stop you from going to the gym because you're like a train, right? So for somebody who can have very high potential and can have the skill because they've practiced, but since you are here, it's 10 times easier for you to go to the gym than it is for somebody who's here. 10 times easier because it requires only 10% of effort. Like when a train is already going fast, it's so much easier to keep moving it fast than it is for somebody who's at rest, right? So when a train has stopped, it requires so much energy to push it. But when it's already going fast, it's harder to stop it. So that's what momentum is. It magnifies everything that you have. It keeps you going and it allows your skills to be fresh. A lot of people, celebrities that we see on TV, top performers, like even politicians, they use momentum as a way to make sure that they don't fall into bad habits. They use momentum as a way. Let's say Donald Trump once in his book said that when he went bankrupt, it's because he was taking too many vacations and he lost his momentum. All right, so momentum is this thing that helps you magnify your talent and skill. So an example of this formula would be if you've been using in an area where you have very high potential, you've practiced for more than 100 hours, after 9 weeks you can have a performance of 60. So what is 60? 60 will be a top performance. So most people say, yep, I have a talent and I've practiced. But when you stop practicing, you lose your momentum. 5 times 3 can be 15 if it's 0 days. Times 4, it can be 60. So your performance, what used to happen to me is that sometimes my performance will be from top to below average. Top for below average. Why? Because I was losing my momentum. So you don't want to lose your momentum. If you want to keep performing at a top level, maintain your momentum, preserve it. Your skill is with you, your talent is with you, but the momentum is the thing that you can easily lose. Whether you're trying to lose weight, you're trying to gain weight, whether you're trying to make money, you're trying to start a business, well, it's harder to start. Once you've started, it's harder to stop. So focus on your momentum so that you can magnify your talent and your skill and end up with an amazing top performance. And with this, I'm hoping that you can use the Mutabs performance formula to become you the great.
If you like this video, please make sure to subscribe to this channel and also make sure to share with your friends and family and click on the like button. I'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and please make sure to use the performance formula to come up with something where you can predict your future performance results so that you can choose an area where you're going to get so good at it so that we can enjoy seeing the talent that God has given you and we can see you becoming you the great. Thank you very much for your time and see you next time.